Cameroon has joined in celebrating Queen Elizabeth's 70th anniversary on the throne of England. Pioneer in Cameroon, the Queen Elizabeth Platinum Jubilee was celebrated in the country because Cameroon is host to one of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust young leaders. At 70 on the throne, what's there to be celebrated? What virtues are there to draw for youth empowerment and development across Commonwealth countries? Ferdinant Sonyuy, Cameroon's Commonwealth Trust young leader, is or has some of the answers to all these questions and is my guest on today's edition of The Streak. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with The Streak again, Mr. Olives. I had no idea that one day I will be connected to the Queen in this manner of celebrating an important event as this one. So it's a pleasure to speak with you.
You're welcome, sir. You led the event commemorating Queen Elizabeth's 70th anniversary on the throne. That's in Cameroon, to be precise. What's the significance of this event to you?
So this event is actually it's called the Platinum Jubilee, and many people know about silver jubilees, golden jubilees, but we hardly hear of Platinum Jubilee. So it is actually, I think, a special event for someone to clock 70 years of celebrating a particular issue. In this case, the Queen's 70 years of reign over Great Britain and other Commonwealth territories. Cameroon is a member of the Commonwealth, and therefore it makes perfect sense for this particular celebration to be done also in Cameroon. And of course, I'm honored to be one of those Queen's beacons that has been mandated or called upon or selected to host an event that reflects the Queen's wishes and hopes for young people who are, of course, leaders during this time of her Platinum Jubilee. So this is a very significant event, and I think, to me personally, it's an honor to be part of this celebration.
Now, you've just talked about the Queen's virtues, which were at the essence of this particular event. But I don't want you to dwell at much on that, because I want to find out one of the high moments of the celebration was the lighting of the Queen's beacon, which you mentioned. What was the symbolism of that beacon lighting?
It was about youth and leadership. You know, when the Queen is celebrating this Platinum Jubilee and wants to reflect her service in the fact that there are young people who are leaders in the Commonwealth, and particularly young people who are members, young leaders of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, which I'm one of them. It was important for the Queen to express her hope in young people throughout the Commonwealth, in the fact that youths are not just leaders of tomorrow. They are expected to lead by service. 70 years is 70 years of service, and therefore she hopes that youths can pick up the mantle to lead by service. And the lighting of the beacons means that we as youths should shine when we lead, and we can only shine when we serve in leadership. So the key message in lighting the beacons is that a beacon, which is something people look at, people look up to, it's a light that shines. And so if there is a smile on people's faces because of leadership, then that's a beacon shining. So these beacons that have been lighted are simply to signify that young people should bring back the hope, should bring the hope that countries need across the Commonwealth through their leadership and through service.
Now, being part of the person to host and celebrate this event didn't just come from the blues. It was definitely because of a particular mandate which I have, and I want to remind you that it is the Queen's Commonwealth Trust Young Leader which you've been conferred. Can you just talk us through some of the work you do and this title, and what is it that you actually do, and what fallouts are there for Cameroon fellow countrymen and even the youths in particular you represent, because the clause in that title, youth leaders?
So like I've mentioned, it was quite an honor to be a young leader of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, and I think that to first of all think about youths in the particular kind of manner that the Queen's Commonwealth Trust is looking at youths is quite, I would say, a blessing to young people throughout the Commonwealth. And as a Queen's Commonwealth Trust Young Leader, what we do is that we look mostly at capacity building. So capacity building for youths. Of course, we have capacity building for ourselves, but also capacity building for youths, particularly for leadership. The fallouts mean that when we are able, as the Queen's Commonwealth Trust Young Leaders, show leadership through service in what we do in our respective countries, youths are able to benefit from what we do. For example, in the Reconciliation and Development Association that I lead, we have the opportunity to build the capacity of youths through leadership trainings, through or youth trainings that inculcate or that bring in leadership trainings. We bring in capacity building in strategic networking, advocacy, communications, and a lot and many other trainings that we offer, with the focus of building the capacity of youth for leadership. So we also have the opportunity to have support from the Queen's Commonwealth Trust through some funding opportunities that we apply for, and we can be able to get to try to do the work that we are mandated to do.
Okay. The Queen was celebrating 70 record years on the throne. And one striking thing I want to find out from you: Britain is head of the Commonwealth of Nations. And in these Commonwealth member countries, which are 53 of them across the entire globe, democracy is brandished as one of the fundamentals of its republic. But here we see a queen celebrating 70 record years in power. Does it mean reigning for life is an ideal? And how can you reconcile that with democracy?
Yeah, so there is democracy, but there is the monarchy. And the monarchy is the system of government where you have kings and queens that reign over lands and territories. We have that also in our own context, in our own country, because our funds are also like monarchs.
Would you want to say some national leaders?
Well, in terms of democracy, we know that democracy is a very strong and acceptable ideal if it is practiced the way it should be practiced. In fact, in Britain there is democracy. I would say so, because at least, even if we can argue that there are faults in their democracy, we can't compare the level of democracy in high-income countries like Britain to the level of democracy in low and middle-income countries such as Cameroon. Now, that does not mean that anyone is permitted not to practice democracy. Everyone should be able to, at least based on the ideals of democracy, practice democracy. And so I would say, if you look at the reign of the Queen, which is a monarchical system, and the elections that often come up for the Prime Ministry of Britain, that's where you see that there is democracy operating at the level of operationalization of the country.
Managerial level,
yes, operational management of the country. That's by the Prime Minister. But the monarchical system is still there, is still in place, and that is where the royal family comes in. Now, it is important to note that this is a particular style that has been adopted for centuries by that particular territory, by the British, by the United Kingdom. And of course, over time, things are not the same. There's a lot about democracy that has also come in, and so I'm sure that you would bear with me that when you have the democracy at the level of the Prime Minister and head of government, and then you have the monarchical system at the level of the royal family heading the Commonwealth, there is a well-structured and agreed system that is functional. So I would say that in countries where democracy is not really being practiced, or where people have perception that the democracy has turned into a monarchy, we need to be careful and look at what those countries have agreed to operate by. If a country has agreed per their constitution to operate as a democracy, then they should operate as a democracy per their constitution. If there are unconstitutional actions, the institutions of that country should be able to respond to unconstitutional actions. And the ultimate authority and the ultimate power is that of the people of that country, which means that if there is a situation where the people of the country feel that there is too much unconstitutionality, then the people themselves can place the incumbents in a situation where they have to respond and come back to leading the people through service to the people, because a leader is basically mandated by the people to help them, the people, to live in a particular way that the people accept that they want to live. Therefore, if that is not the case, then there's a problem. And if any type of democracy in a country is unable to provide for that, then that is a flawed democracy. And the people need to fix that. The people would need to fix that. So it's no controversy that the Queen is celebrating the 70th year in reign, because that is the system that has been put in place there. We cannot say that if a fund, for example, in the Northwest, lives or stays in power for 90 years, it's a crime. There's no crime in that, because he is the fund and he moves along with his culture, he moves along with his people, with the institutions in his land that instituted him and that support him and that he cannot violate, and that he leads together with his people in his land as a fund. So it's all about the system, and it's all about what has been agreed by the people that are being led in that particular manner. And I think there's no problem with the Queen celebrating her 70th year in reign. In fact, it is an event worth lighting beacons to reflect the fact that there is a future. And even when leaders grow older, young people have to be able to take hold of that future. And that's the message of the Queen. so that youths cannot just sit on the sideways. Youths should be able to realize that there is hope in the future, because they, the youths, can look at leadership from a perspective of service and then offer themselves to serve their people through leadership.
Mr. the Queen's Commonwealth Youth Leader for Cameroon, thank you for being my guest on today's edition of The Street. Would there be any last words?
Thank you so much, Olives. I'm just very excited to share some of these perspectives with you. And my last words will only go to the youths to say that we actually do not have a lot of time as young people. Even though we may feel that as young people, we have a lot of time. But before you close your eyes, you will be old. You will be older. And you may be the oldest among the people in your community. Therefore, let us be able to look at what is happening to us, look at our future, look at the future of our country, look at the future of our communities, and determine that we are going to make decisions that are going to give hope to the future. Decisions that will positively contribute to community development, community growth, and prosperity, not the reverse. Thank you very much.
And to you out there, to our entire technical crew, we offer our hearts to you, and we say catch you when next we street yet another individual, institution, or organization. Bye-bye.